What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Sorry for the lack of videos over the past week, I think. The last video I posted was on Patrick Laine. I got really busy, I'm not going to lie, and I'm trying to film as much as possible. My camera was not cooperating. I tried to start filming an hour ago, but now it's finally working. So you guys can see the title. We are going to be talking about how the Toronto Maple Leafs can save money on goaltending. Now, basically, where this all started was because David Pagnotta, or David Pagnotta, however you personally said it or say it, he's broken some big news before. I believe he was actually first when John Tavares signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs out of free agency. I believe he was the one that had it first, or at least he was one of the first couple, and they all got tweeted out at the same time. He was talking about how the Toronto Maple Leafs might have interest in Joonas Korpisalo, of course, from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, we've seen how Columbus's goaltending was fantastic in the playoffs, but you can't just use that as your sample size. You kind of have to look a little bit more in depth, and we will go into that. But this move, if it is true, could save the Leafs some valuable cap space, get themselves a 1A, 1B situation with Korpisalo and Jack Campbell, even though, you know, both of them aren't considered, you know, front of the line, like starting goaltenders. They're both young, relatively young, and I think splitting games between the two of them wouldn't be a bad idea. Or if Korpisalo takes off and does a really good job, I mean, it's a win. We'll have to look into what it may cost the Toronto Maple Leafs to make that move, but all of this will be in this video. So basically, like I mentioned, the Leafs apparently had some interest, and this is coming from the fourth period, and that's David's website, so you guys want to go check that out. But basically, apparently they have expressed some interest. Korpisalo is 26, 2 years left on his contract that comes with a $2.6 million salary cap, at which I believe it's 2.8. I don't think it's 2.6. We'll get into that, but I think it's 2.8. If the Leafs were to acquire him or another starting goaltender, obviously they would move Freddie Anderson. So you move out, or you get Korpisalo and then you move out Freddie Anderson in another move. So that way you're saving that cap space that you desperately need for your blue line, and some help in terms of depth for the forwards, maybe some toughness, maybe a little more grit, guys with some size, or a little bit of everything. It's always good to have tons of depth. The Maple Leafs are looking to free up salary, like I said, and obviously Freddie Anderson's $5 million. If they don't believe that he is the starting goaltender that's going to help them this year, if they can get somebody that's on the same level as him for cheaper, and they can make moves to trade him to get pieces back, it's all about saving money while also being smart with the players that you have. Because if the Toronto Maple Leafs don't believe that they can sign Freddie Anderson past this season, if you can get a replacement for him, what's the point of wasting an asset? Why use Freddie Anderson as an own rental if you feel like you can upgrade while also getting assets for him? He's going to be a free agent. He'll walk for nothing at the end of the season. There's absolutely no reason why you can't trade him if you can acquire a goaltender that is a similar goalie, or even better. Who knows? But obviously, it's being said here, it's unclear of how those trade discussions have gone on, but Korpisalo appears to be on Toronto's radar, if possible. Apparently, they're also interested in Brandon Dubinsky, who has 1 year left on his contract now. Dubinsky would probably be an LTIR move, which is here, $5.85 million in salary. He also owns a 10-team no-trade list as part of his no-trade clause. So if he is indeed injured and would be out for the entire season, the Leafs could use that as a part of the trade. But I don't know if the Leafs are going to take that risk, because he's not expected to be available for this upcoming season. But I mean, I'm not even sure. I haven't looked too in depth into his injury. But if he indeed decides he's going to come back and play, or if it's, you know, miraculously he's able to, well, then the Leafs are in trouble salary cap wise. So I'm not sure if that would be part of the deal. If it was basically a guarantee that he's out for the season, then I think the Leafs would have some interest, because that would lower the acquisition cost for Korpisalo quite largely. But let's just assume the Leafs are just going after Korpisalo in this case. Now, the Maple Leafs are entertaining the field for forwards Andreas Johnsson and Alex Kerfoot, both of whom have 3 years remaining on their respective contracts. The Blue Jackets, meanwhile, are willing to listen on Korpisalo and fellow goaltender Elvis Merzlikins, and are in the market for help up front. both on the wing and at the second line center position. I don't think they're going to trade Elvis. I think Korpisalo is the guy that would get moved. He has some value if they want to, you know, get some scoring up front. The Minnesota Wild, Senators, Sabres, Oilers, and Red Wings are among the teams believed to also have interest in one of Columbus's 2 goaltenders. Now, again, this rumor doesn't mean the Leafs are 100%. Oh, they're way in. It's deep into trade talks. But that's very interesting. I kind of didn't see that coming. So, Korpisalo, these are his stats last year in 37 games played, 2.60 goals against average, and a .911 save percentage. Now, as you can see, he's never really played a ton of games. He's never had like jumping off the page numbers. But if the Leafs can get a good save percentage like that while saving some money and also being able to go out there and address their blue line, that extra couple $1 million will go a long way for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Having that extra cap, it would be like, what, $2.2 million of extra space that they could go out there and acquire another defenseman. Instead of maybe going after one, you can get 2. Maybe get another depth guy that you can bring in every once in a while that has some grit on a cheap contract. So that way you're just deep as hell going into this season on the blue line. That's what the Leafs need. So you can get a younger goaltender who's going to cost you less money, who has the potential to be quite good with a good blue line in front of him if they, you know, are indeed going to upgrade, which they will. And you have Jack Campbell as well, who played really well for the Maple Leafs last year. He had good numbers. So while you might be looking at some of these numbers and going, well, none of these are great, Freddie Andersen's numbers last season were not very good either. So if you're going to get a guy who's younger and trade Freddie Andersen for assets, which could include a second-round pick, some people saying even a first, and I might get to that in another video, so stay tuned for that. The Leafs should really explore these options. Now, those are his numbers there. This was in the playoffs this year, of course, small sample size, but when it mattered the most, 9 games, 1.90 goals against, and a .941 save percentage. Now, I know the Leafs lost that first series, but I'm telling you, the Leafs had a lot of really good quality scoring chances in that series. There were some times during the games where you're like, okay, what are they doing here? But then there was some times where the Leafs were just peppering both goaltenders, and they were stopping everything. Like, they were literally stopping everything. So you can't just say, oh, like, it's just because of the team in front of him. He played very well from the shots that he faced. So, I mean, pretty damn good numbers there. This is his contract. Like I mentioned, I was right. It is $2.8 million against the cap. His salary, 2.2, and then the following season is 3.4. That doesn't matter. The Leafs would just be paying that. They obviously have financial flexibility in terms of just money, not cap hit, but like they have money. We all know Toronto's loaded. They have tons of money. But in terms of their salary cap, this would help them immensely. This would be a fantastic contract for them to take on. $2.8 million instead of a $5 million goaltender. I mean, I don't know how this doesn't make sense for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is an incredible contract for a goaltender that I think has the potential to do quite well. Now, this is what I wanted to bring up. If the Leafs see I have Freddie Andersen, look at the bottom, under long-term IR, LTIR, we're obviously not putting him there. I'm just putting him there because that's my trade spot. Instead of long-term IR, think of that as the trade spot. That's what Downtown Stephen Brown does as well. Go subscribe to him, Downtown Sports on YouTube. But I have Freddie in the LTIR spot. So basically that's who I'm going to be trading, right? So $9.1 million in cap space. Now, you're going to see that bottom 6 forward group and think, damn, that's not very good. Well, you could upgrade that blue line. You could trade Justin Hall as well. You could send Rasmus Sandin to the minors. You know, you could re-sign Travis Dermott to like $1.5 million so you have depth. You can go out there and get you can get a big right-handed shot defenseman. You could get 2 if you traded a guy like Justin Hall. Or if you sent Rasmus Sandin to the minors and moved Mikko Lehtinen to the left. And like I said, the forward group, you would have extra money to be able to address that bottom 6. That 4th line might not be too bad, but you could upgrade that 3rd line right wing spot to maybe a Wayne Simmons. So you get a little bit of grit there. You could sign him to a nice $1.5 million deal if he's willing to take it. Because $9.1 million to get, you know, a defenseman at $4 million and then maybe get another one at $2.5 million. The Leafs have money. That 9.1 would save them some money. That left side is not bad. Hyman, Robertson, and Engvall, and Barabanov, who would probably be a decent fourth liner. I would assume they'd bring back Jason Spezza. And then your center depth is still good at Matthews, Tavares, and Kerfoot. And like I said, Marner Nylander is going to chew up a lot of the minutes. Korshkov on the fourth line is not a problem. And you could upgrade that right wing spot and send Malgin to the minors. So the Leafs have options. And I think that this goaltending option would actually be something I would be very interested in. Again, you're getting a goaltender that's relatively young, at 26 years old, that still has 2 years left on his contract. It's 2.8, not 2.6, so it's just a little error there. And if you trade Freddie Anderson, you have the chance to acquire multiple picks or a prospect and a good pick. The Leafs could use that at the draft, or they could in turn trade that pick for another defenseman or whatever they want to do. So there are options. I know some people are like freaking out. How are they going to find the money? I mean, all they have to do is make these moves here. If they trade for Korpisalo, and by the way, the Korpisalo trade, I should pull this back up. Sorry guys, that's a little bit confusing there. You guys are going to see that there's no Andreas Johnsson there. In terms of the trade, I had Andreas Johnsson as part of the Korpisalo trade. I had Johnsson and a second round pick plus a prospect, the second round pick being next year's second round pick. But I mean, you could argue that they could do this year's second depending on other moves that they make. Again, you can add to that trade. You could switch out Kerfoot instead of Johnsson. You could add a better prospect. You could add a second and a fifth, or a second and a fourth. The Leafs have the pieces to make this trade. Korpisalo isn't the best goalie available on the market. I don't think he's, he's probably top 5 or 6 maybe and available via trade. So it's not like every team is pushing for him, but he is valuable, and you can't just lowball offer somebody. I think that the Leafs would have the pieces regardless to make that move happen. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys think about it. It makes sense to me. Saving money, and again, people are like, why would you trade Freddie? He wasn't the problem. I'm not saying Freddie Anderson was the problem, and I'm not saying that the defense doesn't need help, because it does, desperately. I've been saying it for years. I think people just think that I don't think that they need help on the blue line. I tweet about it. I talk about it. Everybody who knows me knows that I want them to upgrade on that blue line. Trading Freddie Anderson gives them a little bit of flexibility to go out there and address the defense even more, because you're getting a cheaper goaltender in return, and that's all I want to do. If Freddie Anderson won with the Leafs, I would be happy. I want Freddie Anderson on this team. I love him. But if you can save money to acquire and make moves on other pieces of your team, then you go for it. You do it. It makes too much sense. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my video and understood everything that I was talking about. If I misunderstood, make sure to comment down below. Tell me what I missed or what I should talk about next. Lots of videos coming up if my camera cooperates. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Join the squad. I'd love to have you here. Let's get to 8,000 subscribers. Again, thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.